The Democratic Republic of Congo, beautiful and unspoiled. But within this primitive beauty lies unthinkable hardship by 21st century standards. In fact, some of these pictures and some of these stories are disturbing. The village of Chikaji, population 7,000, is a safe haven in many ways because of a Presbyterian hospital and missionary programs here. Yet homes are huts with dirt floors and walls of sand bricks with no running water or electricity. Villagers eat and cook on the ground outdoors. Women carry fresh water in buckets balanced on their heads, a quarter-mile uphill. It's 1 mile round trip every day. People walk everywhere. The lucky few have a bike, but usually that's used to transport items for sale or barter. In this environment, 1/5 of all children will die before age 5. Malnourishment, unclean water, and poor sanitation have reduced life expectancy to just 41 years of age. Yet the Congolese here are joyful, beautiful people with giving hearts. This film shows Chikaji through the eyes of 12 Americans on a Presbyterian mission trip. They see a glimpse of grace in both the struggle and hope of the Congolese. Life and death are on simpler terms here. Women wear modest skirts below their knees, sitting on the ground in the market with their goods in front of them. To an American eye, it's perhaps chaotic, but festive. In the midst of extreme poverty, there is joy.
I haven't met an unhappy person, I don't think, since I've been here, and if I have, it's well hidden.
These Congolese live in the present. Often when families are hungry, they choose to buy food, putting off medical care until it's too late. An OBGYN from Charlotte, North Carolina, had to abandon his American standards when shadowing a missionary surgeon at the Good Shepherd Hospital in Chikaji. The surgeon had just diagnosed a woman with stage 4 inoperable cervical cancer.
1 minute she's here, she's having a little bleeding, a little pain, and within 15 minutes she's been told that she has an inoperable tumor with a prescription for Tylenol for pain, and that she should pray, but medicine can't help her.
Dr. Lucas wanted to do more.
They reuse the dressings and the wrap. This would be sort of a gauze wrap that's got some elasticity.
31-year-old Kabaya has been in the hospital 6 months. The orthopedic surgeon in the group examined his shoulder, which had severe blisters as a result of in-home treatment.
We're not going to change the culture. You know, these patients are going to continue to treat traditionally and at home, but when they get to the hospital, we need to do everything we can to make sure we've got clean facilities, that we have the antibiotics available, and somehow affordable to them.
Dressings are washed and reused. Kabaya's drinking water is kept in a plastic diesel oil jug. It's an open-air room with a mosquito net and rusty bed. By Congo standards, this is the best facility around, kept open through Presbyterian donations. Surgeons scrub with the brown water straight out of the Luby River. There is a sterilization process, drip by drip, to produce water for IVs. General anesthesia is not wasted on procedures like this hernia operation. She has a local and is wide awake, smiling actually, because she's so thankful to get the operation. Dr. Barron found surgical sutures here, more than a decade old.
And you can't see it, it's stamped into the packaging. This suture here expired in November of 2001, and this suture here expired in 1998.
A nearby hospital in the village of Lubandai uses a pressure cooker to sterilize surgical instruments. A skeletal woman with tuberculosis rests on the bare cement floor. This hospital and the Good Shepherd Hospital are both part of the IMCK, a Presbyterian health organization in this part of the Congo. They provide some of the best medical care in the country, training Dr. Blaise Dandu and his staff. They've learned to do the best they can with what they have. Desperately needed here: antibiotics, dressings they can reuse like sponges, and doctors willing to come train Congolese staff in the latest medical advances.
I'm very happy with the Myospac team, not just for the supply that they gave to us, but also for their, I think it's the same in English, for their expertise, yes, for their expertise.
But visiting experts cannot eradicate all poverty and ignorance. Another building at Good Shepherd Hospital is for children, many malnourished, some alone, and sleeping on the floor.
This little boy is 3 years old. He's been in this hospital more than once for malnutrition, and his skin is light colored because his skin is actually sloughed off because he hasn't had enough to eat. And they don't know if he'll survive. Is there anything else we can do for him? Is there anything else we can do for him, for this child?
You can do some things. You can give him some milk from hospital. After that way, you know another way.
There's no other way to treat him except with milk. The doctor says he also probably has tuberculosis. The day after we saw the child, he died. This 2-year-old girl is running a high fever. The early diagnosis, besides malnutrition, is malaria. Her arms and legs are pencil thin. She cannot stand to be moved. In the midst of these heartbreaking cases, there is hope. Around the corner from the hospital is a nutrition rehabilitation center, which saves hundreds of malnourished children every year. Congolese children usually eat 1 meal a day in the evening, so they'll be able to sleep. It was not enough for Congo Longo, whose malnutrition caused lesions on his scalp. While here in the nutrition center, he'll get 5 meals every day until he's well enough to leave. One 7-year-old named Makola had been hungry so long, it was difficult for him to eat without gagging.
I was asking questions. He's an orphan. He's from a faraway village. He's been here before, so he was severely malnourished. He was brought here, treated, did great. Then his big sister brought him back, who is very young herself and has a young child, little baby herself.
Here's the 13-year-old sister with the baby of her own. Other physical signs of malnutrition here are lighter-colored straight hair and distended stomachs. When a new child comes into the center, they measure his height, weight, and the circumference of his arms. This child is in the severely malnourished category. But there is a glimpse of hope. The green powder sprinkled on top of the cereal comes from the moringa tree, which grows to maturity in just 7 months under the African sun. Moringa leaves are dried, then pounded into a powder high in protein and other nutrients. And it is dramatically improving the high-starch Congolese diet. The Presbyterians' goal is for every family to have a moringa tree. Children here are thrilled with bubbles, a simple, delightful pleasure. 15 feet away, village indigents, widows, orphans, and the handicapped wait for a bi-monthly handout of basics, some foods and household supplies. It's organized by the Chikaji Congolese, but paid for through Presbyterian donations. And it's not enough to keep them from hunger. But Nancy Hanninger, a missionary with 8 years here, says it is a comfort.
So it provides them a little glimmer of hope. It lets them know they're not forgotten.
Women prepare food on the ground in front of the hut. This woman is making manioc, a woody shrub that must be soaked 2 or 3 days to reduce the cyanide content. The bark is stripped and discarded. Then the manioc is pounded into a powder and mixed with water. Women do most of the work. They're usually pregnant by age 15. Over a lifetime, 1 in 16 will die in pregnancy. Patriarchal traditions still stand, and widely, there is much violence against women. Hopefully, this thought will begin to seep into the culture. The sign in French says, "Violence against women is unacceptable." Perhaps a woman's financial stability will begin to change the perception. The Chikaji Women's Development Project teaches micro-enterprise skills like soap making. The lye-rich ingredients are mixed on the ground, then poured into a wooden frame to dry. Women here also learn to read, some basic math, and other life skills. Next door, a sewing school gives rape victims and vulnerable single women a skill, and with that, a new chance at life. Fighting a rapist is a catch-22 for Congolese women. The culture blames the victim, but a girl cannot resist if she values her life. Afterwards, she's shunned by her family and village. But again, this sewing school is transformative. Learning a useful trade gives them personal worth and status in the village. Women like 28-year-old Kenkona, whose husband left her when she was pregnant, will make enough money to feed her 18-month-old child, pay for health care, and her child's education. School costs $1 a month. There is no public school in this part of the Congo. Children aged 6 to 14 march and sing at Chitalala School. Those parents who can't afford tuition, 70%, watch from the sidelines. Myers Park Presbyterian Church in Charlotte built this school after a visit 2 years ago during the rainy season. They saw wet children shivering in open-air classrooms and sent $15,000. First graders at Chitalala are still outdoors in a shim school without walls and a palm leaf roof. But the older children learn where it's dry, indoors. Here's another glimpse of grace. Children thrilled with the privilege of an education. Children who think a new soccer ball to share is the ultimate gift. There is higher education, too. These IMCK nursing students study for finals. Later on Sunday, they'll go to the front of their church with their parents to pray for their exams. It's a group prayer, with dozens of voices murmuring at once. Some cry. It's an honor and privilege to have this education, and it will be life-changing for the women especially. But this church service does not stay low-key for long. This joyful noise comes from wooden electric guitars and handmade drums. Children walk up the aisle to give an offering first, followed by men, then finally women, dancing as they go. Later at a Bible study, children will pose for a photograph.
Well, this is special because a lot of the children have never seen a picture of themselves.
Hi, bonjour.
The Congolese in Chikaji are friendly, appreciating relationships and friendship. They're incredibly patient to an American eye.
No, not even. Yes.
Interestingly, people who've been treated in the hospital must remain there until their bill is paid. One child has spent a third of his life in the hospital.
So this sweet little boy has no money, and he's been waiting for 6 months to go home. And until his family comes up with money, he waits here.
The mission workers observe these Congolese rarely throwing anything away. Consequently, a storeroom at Good Shepherd Hospital holds hundreds, perhaps thousands of donated items they will never use. Dozens and dozens of old barrels with who knows what inside. An outdated hip replacement kit for a hospital that will never do a hip replacement. Clunky old Fahrenheit thermometers, where nurses read Celsius, require batteries they'll never have. Somebody called the worthless donations junk for Jesus. Unfortunately, the outdated, unusable supplies just take up space and make the worthwhile provisions difficult to find.
What we're trying to do is make a list of supplies you really do need and can use for all the churches in the U.S. When they send supplies, it's something that's actually beneficial.
We have eliminated overtime pay, but it seems like...
From the storage room to the front office, there are similar issues. Two of the mission workers try to streamline the hospital's personnel and management practices.
For them, lots of activity is very normal. So we have meetings with one person, but they'll invite 3 more people. And then during the meeting, other people will just stop by. They'll come in and join the meeting, they'll come in and ask questions, they'll come in and need something signed. So this whole kind of atmosphere of it's, you know, it's not so structured, it's very much a relationship.
But some Congolese culture and patriarchal traditions here are cruel. This is the fistula ward at Good Shepherd Hospital. Some of the very young girls were sold into prostitution by their families. Some got pregnant before their bodies were capable of delivering a baby. Others had a prolonged labor without medical care. All have holes ripped in their urinary tracts or colons. Each has been leaking urine or feces for years, each ostracized and forced to live alone.
One of the issues that is very important to understand about these ladies is they're women with no power. They've never had a choice in their life. They labored forever. They had no ability to make a choice to go to a hospital. They're not valued by anybody. They have no control.
One woman spent her savings on an operation by an untrained physician who botched the surgery. Dr. Haniger sees it frequently.
And at that point, they have no money. That's already been taken by the other doctor. Good Shepherd Hospital provides care and often gets no payment. And again, this is another example. Unless we have subsidy, we can't do this. The hospital is on the verge of bankruptcy all the time. We're short on medicines. And yet we still take care of people.
Through donations, these women have a $240 surgical repair that dramatically changes their lives, allowing them to return to their families. It is another glimpse of grace in the Congo. Interestingly, this hospital does not focus much on HIV infections, which are down to just 1.6% of the people now. No one is sure why. In the Congo, condoms are of little use except with prostitutes. Polygamy is the major spreader of AIDS. While some efforts help heal past wrongs, other efforts in the Congo look to the future. A community health program provides well care and vaccinations for babies through age 5 for just 50 cents. Mothers and breastfeeding babies cram onto the front porch of the village health center.
This happens to be vaccination day. However, they also do births, they do prenatal care, they have 2 midwives on staff.
Fighting future disease and hunger begins with education. An agriculture development project teaches farmers best practices. It's labor-intensive work, clearing away the jungle by hand. In their native language of Chaluba, a man explains the necessity.
For to fight against hungry and to help their children to study.
To fight hunger and to pay for school. In Chikaji, villagers have begun to store grain for planting instead of eating it all and having to buy at high prices. It's a huge step planning ahead. New ways to grow food, new ways to prevent disease, new ways to live that don't discriminate against women. There are so many ways for people of the world, people like you, to make a small contribution with huge impact. Be it medical supplies, vaccinations, education, nutrition support, or maybe just a visit and an empathetic friendship. The Congolese, a people rich with joy and simplicity, struggle against the hardships in their lives. But there is hope and a glimpse of grace.